What's up guys, this is Astranox back with another Epic 7 video. This time it's about Alencia with her new exclusive equipments. Is she much better now because of these exclusive equipments? I'll cover that, pros and cons to using this hero. She is built on counter set with immunity with 15 skill ups on the Draco Plate artifact, which I feel is pretty solid. She takes less damage from crits. She deals more damage as well, more crit damage, which goes over 350% crit damage if you're wondering. So I have her built with a lot of bulk. I mean, she's got mostly a lot of health, not that much defense, no speed, not much speed at all. Pros and cons about that, I'll talk about that later in the video. So I have her almost 300% crit damage. Well, with the artifact, that's pretty much it. Some effectiveness on her so she can land defense breaks, but most importantly, removes buffs off of the enemy, and it can potentially remove all buffs if it doesn't get resisted, of course. So yes, this hero, is she much better now with the exclusive equipments? The one that I'm using on her is the one that increases the chance for her passive to trigger when she gets attacked by 20%. So it's 70% chance to trigger, which is really good. I mean, it's better than what it was before. So there is one that actually increases the damage of the skill 2, right, the trample. That's not another viable option, to be honest. The one that increases the effectiveness, that is an effectiveness buff that actually gets applied after you use the skill 3. It gets applied after you use the skill 3, so I don't really like that because the skill 3 is a pretty big moves of her, and it sets up your team to, cripple the enemy, remove their immunity, whatever sort of buff that they might have on them. So it'd be real nice if you had the effectiveness buff before, but unfortunately it's going to be for landing defense break with skill 1. I feel like it's more suited for PvE content, or maybe if you're really trying to push her effectiveness to more reliably land defense breaks with skill 1. Maybe you have a decent amount on her, and the Mind's Eye, the passive that she can trigger when she gets attacked, which is instead of 50% chance to trigger, 70% with her exclusive equipment. So yeah, it's better and it's quite strong, right? The issue is the skill 1 into the trample, right, cannot happen on a counter attack. So that would be so much better if it did work that way, but unfortunately it doesn't. So initially when she was released, I believe that it worked, and then she was shortly afterward nerfed, which is real sad. So yeah, I'll be talking about where this hero stands kinda in the meta right now. Are those exclusive equipments like pushing her to a whole other level? To be honest, she's not really picked much at all. So that's really unfortunate. Now, on these exclusive equipments, she's got critical hit chance on the main stat, which is one of the better one to have. It's quite a lot of stats. It's something that is nice to have. So let's take the effectiveness buff out of the two viable EEs for PvP, I would say. So you got more damage on the trample versus 20% more chance to activate it. Activate the passive. So I would say that the better activation, more chance is better because, that's an extra attack. And the great thing about the combo with the skill 1 into the skill 2 trample is that, you got defense break that can potentially land on the first hit with the skill number 1. And then you hit the target with trample that is defense broken. That is some pretty solid damage. And then you can soul burn her S1 for 100% defense break. So that's a reliable way for you to defense break targets. And well, that's one reason why you might want to wear the effectiveness buff 1. It's 50% effectiveness increase, and the Mind's Eye buff that she gets when she gets attacked, right, is another, is it 20 or 30% effectiveness increase? I believe it's 30% effectiveness increase and a 30% effect resistance increase. So that's not bad. You got 80% effectiveness right there. You might have some on her. And then if you're playing an RTA, you got the frenzy building up, so that's more effectiveness. But usually you don't want to build that much effectiveness on the buffers and stuff like that. Unless the role is really all about that. Because you're getting frenzy over time in the battle. So the reason why I don't like her so much with the super slow build that I have her on is because I kind of want her to be faster to get the defense buff on your team ASAP. Now, I'm not talking about going full ham with the speed on this hero. I'm talking about speed main stats instead of having like health percentage main stats. So having her go before the rest of your team is going to set up your team to, you know, land some debuffs, maybe some provokes. You know, you could have her paired with like Cecilia, let's say, right? She's faster than Cecilia, but Cecilia is pretty good to have on decent speed because you get immunity faster. But if you can reliably sort of like remove their immunity buff into a provoke from Cecilia, that's pretty nice. And there's so many different ways to, you know, combo Alencia with another hero to put them to good use, right? So the issue with building speed on her is, of course, she's not going to have as much survivability, right? She's not going to have as much health and less damage per hit. So that's one thing. And, well, if you do build speed, something I don't like too much is that when you have a hero on a counter set and then you go with speed main stats, that's kind of weird. I don't really like to do it too much. It's because you already have a chance to get like a free counter attack with the hero. So even if you build them slow or fast, you will be, you know, you're going to be counter-attacking. And if you build them slower, they might have more damage and they're going to be packing a bigger punch. So there's pros and cons about it. But I think that building her with like, let's say 180 speed, maybe up to 200, something like that, depending on where you are in terms of leagues, you know, in PvP. It really depends on who you are fighting. And if, let's say, a hero that is like Maid Chloe, or a hero that provides some buffs on their teams, like immunity right there from Last Rider Crow, right? Or Maid Chloe that brings the team back to life. I mean, the revive buff that she puts on the team, the attack buff that she puts up. Right now we have Mediator Carrick that's putting the immunity. I mean, they already had it, but let's say he's the only one that can put immunity. And then he puts attack buff as well. So if you have Alencia slow, well, you can be sort of like sure that she's going last, which means that she's going to be removing all these buffs that are pretty game changing. So that's good. You don't have to worry about, oh man, is Alencia too fast? Is she too slow? That's why sometimes you see some slower bazaars and stuff like that, and they're built more tanky with more bulk. And not only that, you don't only have more bulk, but you also have more stats for investing into stuff like effectiveness, right? So Alencia is pretty stat hungry. If you build her with crit chance, crit damage, then you need, of course, health, because she scales off of health for damage, and it boosts her survivability as well. So now, if you don't invest into speed, then you have more room for more stuff like those stats I talked about, plus effectiveness as well. So I feel like it's kind of weird with a hero like that. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be your call. It really depends on what type of team you're gonna be running with her. But if you wanna, you know, put the removal of buffs to good use, because you're gonna follow up with some provoke or some big crippling debuffs against the enemy team, then of course having her faster would be better, right? So the exclusive equipment that brings her to 70% chance to trigger her Mind's Eye, I feel like that's the better one, because I mean, it's such a powerful thing, because you're getting the free 30% effectiveness and effect resistance, but most importantly, it's about that attack that you can soul burn the skill 1 for 10 souls, land defense break, and get that free trample attack into a defense broken target, right? And if you build her slower, that means it's a bigger punch. You are in the frenzy is building up in World Arena, and that means you can sort of like secure a kill just because of that, especially if you are sort of like convinced that the defense break will actually land, and frenzy builds up, you get more free effectiveness, and the chance to actually land defense break is going to be greater. So yeah, overall I think that's the better one. But having more damage on trample, especially like right now, right, 10,550 damage, right? She had defense break, Apocalypse Ravi, so that trample could have dealt more damage if I had the EE. That increases the damage of trample by, I believe it's 20%. So that could be sort of like a killing blow in against certain heroes. Now Apocalypse Ravi is super tanky. There's no Aureus though, but still, that extra damage could be sort of like a game-winning thing going for you. But I always prefer a higher chance to trigger something that is pretty powerful, like Mind's Eye, because you're getting quite a few things out of it. Now, unfortunately, the counter attacks cannot trigger her S1 into the S2. That'd be so powerful, and I feel like Alencia would be like seen more in the meta. Now she's not really seen in the meta, sadly. And I feel like she's pretty stat hungry. You need quite a bit of gear. You need to have a bruiser playstyle. Building her with more speed, of course, is a defense buff that's going to be on your team faster, so that's good. But if you build too much speed, then maybe the enemy has a hero that can remove your buffs. But if you build her slow, then they will have to decide, am I going with the, you know, the skill that actually removes the enemy's buff, or I'm going to wait it out until their Alencia go and put the defense buff. And if you build her slow, then yeah, they're gonna have to think about that one. But the skill 3 is really powerful, that's the thing. But outside of the skill 3 and the skill 1 into the skill 2 combo, if the trample doesn't trigger, if your counter set is not triggering throughout the battle, Alencia really struggles, and she's kind of dead weight, right? Like, she uses a skill 3, and if you do it faster, that might be better than her standing there, not triggering any counter, any, you know, mind's eye. That's pretty sad if she's not doing nothing throughout the battle. And in my battles, I feel like she's not dead weight, but she kind of goes too late. Like, if she could have been more impactful by going faster, hence why the speed main stat boots might have been powerful, pretty strong for her. And I feel like it'd be better if you have better gear. If your gear level is higher, I would probably go with more speed on her. The way I have her built is just way too slow, and sadly her exclusive equipments are not good enough to push her to another level. She's better, of course, crit main stats. It's not good enough, sadly. Yeah, and some heroes are just way too good, guys. They're too overpowered. They're releasing really strong heroes, and Alencia really fell off long ago, and she never really had a chance to come back, even with the EEs. Let us know what you guys think about all that in the comment section. I'm Astranox. Good luck with all ya do. Peace out for now.